Hello, good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year! It's nice to be back. And of course, for those who are watching us from a different time zone, good afternoon or good evening. And for those who are new in this platform or first time seeing us, my name is Marilyn. I'm the founder and CEO of Customized Training Solutions or CTS Private Limited. And we are passionate about helping leaders and organizations who are continuous learners and action takers to transform and thrive in all aspects by co creating, contextualizing, and customizing programs with our world class resources. We have served over 3,000 leaders from over 30 countries in different industries, including Petronas, Sony Mobile, PruLife UK, Ayala Group, Tencent, Jollibee Foods Corporation, Legato Healthcare, and Shell, to name a few. And the reason why we are organizing several interventions, including this leadership and transformation interview, is because we would like to help leaders who don't know how to stay relevant and adapt to the next normal. Those who find it stressful to lead and ensure performance of a hybrid team, and those who are afraid that they can keep their team or their business. So, to be able to stay relevant and continue to lead more effectively in any situation, join us in these interventions. And today, it's my great pleasure to introduce our leader. Danielle Kumar has more than 17 years of experience across industries in the areas of strategic marketing, brand building, strategic management, leadership, organizational development, team building, personal branding, and soft skills development, and currently the Chief Executive Officer of Cosmopolitan College. Building brands and strategic accounts to the next level is his passion. He has been an integral part of multinational entities and managed world-renowned clothing brands such as Marks and Spencer, Tommy Hilfiger, and LCYKKI. Daniel's past work experiences equipped him in managing strategically in terms of revenue and profitability. He has a cross sectoral exposure and has built and implemented result oriented plans, has strong interpersonal skills in engaging, inspiring, and encouraging others through progress, high focused with a consistent track record of successfully delivering projects within tight time scales and budget. And among his affiliation are Chartered Institute of Marketing, Chartered Institute of Management Accounts, managerial level, and member of Sri Lanka Institute of Marketing Management. He is also an Everything Disc International Certified Trainer and a Marshall Goldsmith Certified Global Leadership Assessment Professional, GLA 360, a Brunei Jerusalem National Accreditation Council Ministry of Education Brunei accredited lecturer. So without so much further ado, I'd like to invite and bring in Danielle. Hello. Am I pronouncing your name properly, by the way?
Highland, yeah, perfectly fine. And thank you very much for that introduction.
You're welcome. And it's my great pleasure to start the year and to come back with this interview with you today. Just for the audience knowledge, I get to meet Daniel in Brunei. In my recent trip in Brunei last November, I just messaged him through LinkedIn, and he's so hospitable that he actually even um, accommodated me together with Michelle. And we really had like an amazing conversation, and that's why I told her we should bring this online or with an audience.
It was a pleasure to meet you and host you in Brunei, and I hope you visit Brunei once again in a different format. Maybe we can work together in something. Yeah.
Yes, looking forward to that. And so let's get started so that we can our audience can get so much out of this conversation. So I'll be asking you several questions. And the first three is basically for us to have a better understanding of from which perspective you're coming from. So the first one is for you to share with us your leadership experiences. If you have like influencers that you'd like to mention, or a favorite leadership style that you would like to share with us, please do so.
Okay. So to start with, I'll quote something from Jack Welch, one of the people I listen to.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "Yeah, when you before coming to leadership, it's about developing yourself, and once you come into leadership, it's about developing others or your colleagues." So I would
Mm-hmm.
like to start on that note. And if you talk about my leadership styles, I have quite a few, not one. I think I would, when I started my leadership journey, I think I would have started as an autocratic leader.
Mm-hmm.
I lied to myself and the others listening out, especially my colleagues, if I say a different leadership style. But with
Mm-hmm.
time, I started being a bit democratic. Then I think I went into a visionary leadership style, and now I'm more into a coaching leadership style. So I think I have four to go. I think different stages of the organization, I had to use different leadership styles. I think most of them out there would agree with me on that. And
Yes.
some of the people who influenced me in my leadership journey, number one is my dad, who is my
Mhm.
hero. I have looked at him growing up, and he definitely made an impact in terms of my leadership journey. I'm also a big fan of John Maxwell. I
Mhm.
love his podcast. I have, I think, almost all of his books. I read a lot of him, and I think he's one of my favorite leadership authors. And whenever I read or listen to him, he speaks to my heart. So he's one of my mentors. Even though he doesn't know me, I know him well. And I also listen to other leadership authors, and but not really my mentors. I think John Maxwell is one, and of course Mr. Satish is also one of my mentors whom I look up to, and also my BOD, Mr. Nanda Kumar and Mr. Prabhu,
Mhm.
two other great gentlemen that I look up to. So yeah, these are my mentors or influencers, if you ask me, in a nutshell.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing with us your leadership styles. Which again, what I got from what you just said is that, of course, it evolves depending on the need. There's no such thing as just one leadership style that
Exactly. Yeah.
you should use. It depends on what type of organization, what is required for you to do. And I'm really glad that you've shared the quote from Jack Welch where you started, which is before you are a leader, success is all about growing yourself, and when you become a leader, success is all about growing others. And that's really beautiful, right? And
Yes.
it's all about, like, because I believe that leadership is about learning, it's about continuous learning and developing others as well.
Yes.
As you've mentioned, so thank you for sharing that. And
Yeah.
having said that experience, those leadership styles that you have, practiced along the way in your career, and also, like, not to forget that you've mentioned that one of the people that you look up to or has influenced you in today, and how and where you are today, is your father. And again, that's a reminder for every one of us, especially those with children, that as parents, we actually, like, our children look up to us. So we have to be the best or at least a role model for them to look up to, right? So having said that, all those that you've shared, what is leadership for you?
For me, basically, leadership is very simple. It's about serving others,
Mm-hmm.
helping others to grow, and from the bottom of your heart, you should care for people. That's
Mm-hmm.
leadership for me in a nutshell. Three things: develop others, care for people, and be interested in them. So it's like a selfless thing. If you are selfish in certain aspects, I'm not saying that you should never be selfish, but
Mm-hmm.
you should be selfless if you're going to be someone in a leadership role. So yeah, that's leadership for me in simple.
Yeah, thank you so much for, defining that beautifully for us. It's all about people, serving them, developing them, and caring for them. And as they said, right, people follow when they know that you
Yeah.
are caring for them, right? So I love that definition. So and in my introduction as well, I mean, you're also like the CEO of Cosmopolitan College, which is like one of the industries that were affected during the pandemic, right? So I'm just curious to know. I mean, in my introduction earlier, I made mention about next normal, and like the challenges. I mean, we are all well aware about the challenges that the pandemic has brought about, right? So I'm just curious to know, how would you define or describe the next normal?
Yes, Lynn, I think that's a very good question, and it's a timely question. So, Cosmopolitan, I think Brunei is one of the countries who are a blessed country which was least affected, I would say, especially the education industry. We actually managed to achieve our targets over and above, and we were actually doing great during the pandemic as well. But there were certain industries which really suffered. I wouldn't take anything out of that. The airline industry, tourism, food and beverage, I think retail industries. So they had a certain, what do you call that? They had a certain impact. However, with our amazing team of
Mm-hmm.
people we have at Cosmopolitan, I think we pulled it through. But yes, the next new normal, to answer your question, the next new normal is about recovering the revenues that companies lost,
Mm-hmm.
rebuilding operations, reorganizing organizational structures, and also I would earlier it was an option. Digital transformation was an option, but now it's not an option anymore. It's a need. So I think companies will have to go for it sooner rather than later. And I think they will have to come up with their plans to embrace digital transformation into their organization. So that's something that organizations might have to heavily concentrate on the new normal. That's my take on it. I think someone else might have a different viewpoint as well.
I actually love your viewpoint, and we are seeing that a lot. And in my even in my past conversation, in some of the articles that I have read, it's all about really now that we're coming, or we're just starting with 2023. It's about, again, like what you mentioned, recovering, rebuilding, reorganizing, and of course we can't get away from digital transformation. Right? That's like, for the last years, it's been like what has been going on, and what has been focused on, around digital transformation. And it used to be like a wow, or like something as an option, right? But when we actually go through the pandemic, it's like, there's no way that we can't, for us to be able to continue to serve not only our customers, but also to stay connected with our families, with our team members, right? So thank you for, for sharing with us your thoughts about next normal. And but even before the pandemic, I'm sure, like, I know that you're focused around schools, or colleges, but I believe that you are also, like, handling corporate leaders, even with the introduction earlier, right? Working with some of the biggest clients, in your experiences. So what would you say would be the top three problems that leaders would normally face?
Generally, when you take when you become a leader, you have challenges. Like example, like
Mm-hmm.
I started with my quote, developing you and developing others. But one challenge is to continuously work on developing yourself, that you raise the lead so other people can grow. But because if
Mm-hmm.
you are stuck in a certain number, you will not let the organization grow, and the other people will not grow further as well. So the first challenge, or the biggest challenge, is for you to grow. because when you ask your people to grow, they are going to look at you and see how much you are growing in your capacity. And we
Exactly.
believe in a leadership culture where you set an example and you walk the talk. So if you don't walk the talk, and it's not going to go anywhere, so you have a big challenge on your shoulders to grow yourself. So to be very honest, like, I wasn't a big reader before I became a leader, but once I became a leader, I was pushed, or I had to push myself to read a lot. And I it's definitely beneficial. Now I'm pushing my leadership team to read, so it works that way. So you are under tremendous pressure to do something that you preach. So that's number one. Number two is to build an inclusive culture where we respect every difference. Like, say, um, I also heard this, like, once, there's nothing to take away from him. Henry Ford said, "I just need a pair of hands at work." But I think leadership has gone beyond that era now,
True.
where you have to accommodate the emotions, heart, everything of the individual who is in the organization with you. So I think building an inclusive culture is a big challenge for every single leader. I think everyone would agree with me. Uh, Building an inclusive culture is a big challenge because we are people of differences. We have differences emotionally, mentally, knowledge wise, skills wise. We are different people. So building an inclusive culture and keeping that culture together is a huge challenge. And then, other than that, I would say seeing through the clutter, because the times are very uncertain. You every day you are driving into more and more uncertainty. So seeing through the clutter and forecasting, planning for better things, expanding, growing, these are challenges I think every leader would face on a day-to-day basis.
Wow, thank you for summarizing that for us. And I totally agree with your insights around the problems, right? And again, I've been like noticing the same based on my conversations with the leaders from around the globe as well, around developing like some or probably most organizations or leaders would think that um, there are still some at least that would think that developing or learning and development is just an option, where like there are some cultures where when like things are bad, that's when they actually like, so what are we going to do to prepare? How are we going to develop our people so that they will be equipped to face the challenges or the uncertainties like what you've said, right? So hopefully, again, it's all about the mindset, and it starts with the leaders, right? And I really love the part that you've shared about building inclusive culture, because we've been hearing a lot about D&I recently, right? And the good thing about it, like based on my experience and what I've been reading, is really like having this DNI or inclusivity and building that culture. I know it's a lot of work. It's a continuous work, to be exact. But at least this is where you would be able to leverage on each other's strengths, and like you would see like how the difference in the perspective, and the differences in the culture, in the differences in like the strengths of your team come together and create something more beautiful, right? and
Definitely.
and yeah, I mean, you've mentioned about around through seeing through the clutter, which I know is difficult when you're in there. But again, and that's the reason why I guess it's one of the like most challenging part for leaders, right? To seeing through the clutter, especially now that we're like facing the VUCA world, a lot of uncertainties that we are facing right now. And so I really appreciate um, this summary of the problems that most leaders do face with or without the pandemic, I would say, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And
And
no pandemic, it's the same. I think this is something that leaders like. For me, I personally love this. I love challenges. So that gets me going every morning. Okay, today let's see what happens. What can we do? How can we solve this? So yeah.
Yeah, and that's actually all about the mindset as well, right? On how are you like taking things and situations or the daily grind on when you just woke up or when you just step in your work, right? It's all about the mindset. And of course we will not leave our audience with the three problems. Probably we can help them like somehow understand the solutions by sharing with us what are the important leadership capabilities or skills that you must have in the next normal to continue to lead more effectively.
If you ask me, then I think that's a brilliant question and also a very tricky question. Because as much as people agree with me, I think there will be a same number who disagree with me. But nevertheless, I'm going to speak my mind. I think when you become a leader, I think yes, you need certain technical skills, but I would rather say relationship building is one of the key aspects of any leader. Building a good rapport with your colleagues, your team members, your employees is quintessential for a leader to take his game forward, because you, at the end of the day, your people are the ones at the front line and getting things done. And if you don't have a good rapport, you don't listen to them, you don't care for them, I think leadership is not going to go anywhere. So, as I always say, people are the center of leadership. So, you need to build a good relationship with people. That's one of the most important things. Then I would say the next one is to be agile and be adaptable. Your organization should be able to like agility and adaptability is one of the other key skills that I think leaders will look for, especially in this world, like in the VUCA world, in the unpredictable world. So I think agility and adaptability is very important. And
Mm-hmm.
also, I'm a strong believer in innovation and creativity. If you can't continuously give something or keep people excited, not only a new product to customers, but inside the organization, even for employees, there should be something new. There should be something to keep them excited. I agree. Some of them might say you can't do it every day. I 100% agree with them. You can't create innovation and excitement every single day, but it should be continuous. You don't create it once a year, it should be more consistent than that. So innovation and creativity is also a very key aspect of leadership. And also um, inspiring people, creating that passion to come to work. When people wake up in the morning, they shouldn't feel like they are going into a factory where they are going to get beaten up the whole day. They should come with, they should, like, when the alarm goes off, they should have a spring in their step and a smile on their face to come to work, looking forward to it. I would love to say this. I think, like, you can't expect all 100 people to do that in an organization. But I see my because we are just coming in from a rather slow progress month. December is a holiday month, and when I was here, normally I fly back home, but this year I happened to stay here because of some official things. But I see, even though people are on leave and holiday, they are around the office. They are coming. They are having a chat. They are having coming with smiling face. I said, yeah, this is something very good. I said, but I called them and told them, you're on leave. You're supposed to spend time home. But I see that they are doing it with a certain willingness. So I think that's something, a challenge for leaders to create, and also that's something that leaders should focus on creating. So that's a skill that, yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us. And again, we can't elaborate more how important relationship building is, right? It's always important for us to look into like how are we actually caring for the people that we work with. and how are we adapting, or how agile we are in terms of the changes that are happening, because the world is evolving. Technology changes, uncertainties would always be here, changes will always be here, and it's important for us to be able to be agile enough and adaptable to like look into those changes and transformation happening around us, right? And again, you've also mentioned innovation and creativity, and this is a summary of like your experience as well in terms of leading your team, where people are willing to do the extra mile or do something more than you ask them for, right? And that is leadership basically. Right? So thank you for sharing that with us. And so what do you believe is the role of learning, leadership, and transformation in thriving in the next normal? And I guess someone actually like told me that this is like huge or a lot packed in
So
a question. So I guess it's an invitation for you to summarize what we have discussed in the last five questions.
yeah, so I think moving forward is in the current environment would be like, as I told, leaders need to continue. They have a challenge to continue to learn and invest in themselves, and
Yeah.
acquire new skills, and also acquire especially people related skills, like I would say, like emotional intelligence, social intelligence. Those are two buzzwords going around, but they are really, really applicable and very relevant to leadership, I would say.
Mhm.
So that's something that we like to talk about. And then another point that you brought out, Len,
Mhm.
in your summary, I think I need to capture that as well, that the importance of training and development in an
Mhm.
organization. So I would like to tell you a small story about this. Like, say, once there was a conversation between a CEO and a CFO. So the
Mhm.
CEO obviously wanted to. I'm not hitting at any CFOs. I have
Mhm.
all due respect to all my CFOs, and I uh, thoroughly respect them. This is just for a story sake. So the CEO wanted to train five people, and he requested a certain budget. But
Mhm.
the CFO turned out and said, "Okay, you're going to train them. What if they leave? What if they leave us?" So the CEO's reply was, "What if they don't leave?" So yeah, yes, companies have a risk of training people and them leaving. But on the other side, on the flip side of the coin, what if they don't leave you and they are not going to give their best at your workplace? You're going to suffer. So either way, there's a 50-50 risk. I would say if I was the leader, I would invest in training and development. And I'm proud and I'm glad to say that my shareholders share the same sentiment, and they are strong believers of training and development as well. So those are two major things that I think, summarizing everything in terms of the last five questions we
Mhm.
discussed, I would say.
Yes, and I would say that investing in yourself and others is really very important in leadership, and you've mentioned about walking the talk as well. It's not really like you providing development or training for your team, but also you developing yourself, because especially if you're a leader, if you're a CEO, the success and profitability of your company depends upon you, right? When you're a leader, whether it's a small or a big company, well, that's how it is. And it's interesting that up until now, this same issue still um like we can still hear the same issues where like like some companies or some leaders don't believe in like having all this training, uh, or having development for their team members. And again, it's good to be reminded that we must invest in ourselves, in our team, especially people related. And that's the reason why they're called life skills, right? It's one of the most important things that nobody can take away from you, I would
True.
say, right?
Actually, just to add to that, Len, just something that I learned from my father. He's an agriculturist. He's a tea planter.
Mm-hmm.
So something I used to analyze these things, and I even read it somewhere. Like sometimes leadership is like farming. You need
True.
to feed, like give whatever is necessary to your crops, and sometimes you need to give time to get the yield. It will
Mm-hmm.
not yield sometimes at your hurry. When you are in a hurry, and the plant doesn't yield, the crop doesn't yield, it has a certain time to give you an yield.
Mm-hmm.
So until that yield comes, sometimes you need to be patient. And that's why you have like different crops, right? You have different crops which will yield in different times. So it's up to you as a leader to get that right mix in the organization. It's up to you to decide whom you will get into the bus. And if you have the slightest doubt that this person might not fit in my bus, don't take him. Simple as that. If you don't want to give that person that time and that effort, my uh, my what do you call that, humble opinion would be, don't get them in the bus.
Yeah, true, true. It's about finding the right people at the right time. So that leads me to my last two questions, which are very open questions. And I'm curious to know, how did you get about also the answers for these questions? So the first one is, if you have a magic wand and can use it, what will you do with it?
You're giving the magic wand to a very dangerous person, Lynn. That's all I can say. uh, okay, if I have a magic wand, what would I do? um, I have a heavy heart towards people who are suffering with illnesses.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe if I have a magic wand, I will take away all the illnesses in the world. I seriously have a very heavy heart, because that's one of the reasons I didn't become a doctor, because my parents wanted me to be a doctor, but I simply can't see people suffering. And if I see a patient bleeding, maybe I'll faint next to him. So yeah, I would remove illness from the world.
Thank you.
Something
Thank you
very
for sharing.
relevant to our leadership discussion, but yeah, since you asked me an open-ended question.
Yeah, I really hope you have, like, a magic one so you can do that. But I mean, based on the work, I would say that education is also a way of healing
Definitely,
any
definitely.
illnesses in this world. And it's interesting you shared that story that your parents wanted you to to be a doctor when you were younger, but you never became a doctor because you can't take, looking, or probably having to deal with, people with illness, right? And but at the same time, being an educator or being part of this industry in the training is really like being a doctor as well, I would say. And I remember the because I do meditate, and I remembered that part where they said, like, a lot of the difficulties, problems around the world is mainly because of the disconnection. That is like when us as parents, for example, would push things to our children, or would like ask them to like leave the dreams that we have, that we were not able to to have. Like, it was shared by Oprah in in this meditation, where she realized that, oh, okay, by me pushing my daughter in South Africa to take or to go to that college that is my dream college is actually wrong, because like they wanted something else for themselves as well. So I mean, I think that's kind of connection, or connected with the illnesses or the disconnections around the world as well. So it's really about supporting the team or the people, or especially your children, right?
Yeah.
um to avoid any illnesses or any disconnections in this world. So thank you for sharing that with us, your magic wand wish. and and that leads me to this last question. If you were to ask yourself a question that you can best answer, what would it be? And because you can actually answer that question, please do answer that for us as well.
Okay, maybe I will make it a bit relevant to this discussion instead of
Mhm,
taking it into a different direction. So, one of the questions that I always ask myself: why, what inspires you to be a leader, and why did you focus on becoming a leader of an organization? So, I used to always analyze this question and think, why? I recently figured out the answer because you always don't get answers to your questions. I
mhm,
recently figured out my answer. I was just going through my childhood days and I figured
mhm.
it out. Whenever my mom asked me to study, because she wanted me to be a doctor, so I had to study hard actually. If you can't be a doctor by playing around. So
Exactly.
I would choose to go out and speak to people and spend time with people, knowing, getting to know them better, asking questions, being curious about their lifestyle and things like that from a very tender age, from a very young age. So I got an answer. Maybe your calling, it's not a career, but your calling is leadership, and maybe your calling is to be around people and to care for them and develop them. So the answer was why leadership, and how I discovered the answer is what I just told you. So in my aspect, I love to be around people. I
Mhm.
love to talk to them. I like to, like, normally even when I go out to eat, I never go alone. I normally call someone or a few of us, and we always go around together to have something. So I think my calling is to be around people. So yeah, if I don't see people, I get bored.
I mean, that's part of being a human, right? Especially, I guess you're extroverted. Having said that,
Correct.
it's all about people. I mean, leadership is all about people, or and taking care of them, serving them, right? So that I would say that your team is very lucky to have you as their leader,
I,
because at least they're like somehow, based on like what you've shared with me, right? They're so lucky that you care for them, you serve them, and you develop them, as their leader. So thank you so much for that work and the work that you have been doing in the space of education, whether it's corporate or for students. So, and I look forward to be able to work with you. So thank you so much for all the insights that you have
thank you so
shared
much.
today. I really appreciate that. I'm actually taking notes while we're having conversation. So thank you
Thank you
so
so
much
much.
for that.
Thank you
And
so
it's
much.
always yeah, and it's always good to be reminded of all these nuggets, right? Because every one of us will have different perspective, will have different experiences. So it's always good to hear and be reminded of these valuable insights, I would say. So thank you so much for that. And I'm really glad to have this conversation as the start of 2023. And I believe something that leaders should think about as well in
Yes.
caring for their people, and like what they need to develop their people or their team with, what they need to prioritize. So thank you so much again, Danielle. And thank you everyone for watching us live. Um, I actually miss to ask or invite our audience to actually put their takeaway, share with us if you have any additional questions. Give us your comments on what you've learned and what's the favorite quote or stories that Danielle has shared with us. And if you have like something or aha moments from the conversation we had, feel free to put that in the comment as well. So thank you very much again, Danielle. And
Thank you so much. And I
yeah,
wish you nothing but the best this new year. And may you have a blessed and progressive year filled with learnings. and hope to see you soon.
Thank you. And I'm claiming that as well. So thank you
Thank
again, everyone. And do join us in this journey to create opportunities through several intervention and create a world that we wanted to live in, right? And remember that even the richest investors in the world would say that investing in yourself is the best investment you can ever make in your life. So, with that, we would like to leave you with this quote from Dolly Parton, that if your actions create a legacy that inspires others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are an excellent leader. Thank you so much, Danielle, for being an excellent leader.
you.
And we
Thank you
would
so
like
much.
to invite everyone as well, if you need any help around leadership, around transformation, feel free to connect with us. And with that, thank you so much. Happy
Much.
New Year.
New Year.
And see you again next week, everyone, for our next session with Sarah. See you.
See you.